Trying to make amends for the Satanic verses, Muhammad recited,
Quran 4, verse 116, Surely Allah does not forgive setting up partners with Him, and whoever associates anything with Allah, he indeed strays off into remote error. They call but upon female deities. They call but upon Satan, the persistent rebel.
Muhammad admitted to having been duped by Satan. His crime was associating female deities with Allah. Since such sins are unforgivable, I wonder if he's enjoying hell as much as Allah seems to. And while this is a fatal problem for Islam, Muhammad didn't learn his lesson. Rather than calling Allah's daughters idols or false god, he just called them deities again. Allah is the spirit of deceit. We learn this again from the Quran.
Quran 4, verse 118. Allah did curse him. He said, I will mislead them, and I will create in them false desires. I will order them to slit the ears of cattle and deface the fair nature created by Allah. Whoever, forsaking Allah, takes Satan for a patron, they are a loser. Satan makes them promises and creates in them false desires. But Satan's promises are nothing but deception. His dupes will have their dwelling in hell, and from it they will find no way of escape.
Satan doesn't create false desires. He preys on carnal and vain desires. He defaces mankind, not cattle. And since Islam is war and war is deception, how are Muslims to differentiate between Allah and Satan? In a line that would feel equally at home in the Communist Manifesto, Mao's Little Red Book, or Mein Kampf, Allah instructs Muslims to rat on their parents.
Quran 4, verse 135. Believers, stand out for justice as witnesses for Allah, even against yourselves, your parents, your family, and relatives, whether it be against rich or poor. Allah is aware of what you do.
This verse serves godless tyrants and their regimes. It's neither civil nor religious, but it helps us understand why Islam and Nazism embraced, and why Muslims later aligned themselves with communists. Putting himself on par with the God he created, Muhammad tells Muslims to believe in him.
Quran 4, verse 136. O believers, believe in Allah and His Messenger, and the Scripture which He has sent to His Messenger, and the Scripture which He has revealed to those before. Any who denies Allah, His angels, His books, His messengers, and the day of judgment, hath gone far astray.
Setting aside for a moment that he was a pervert and terrorist, how are Muslims to believe in the
Scripture revealed before?
If it's the antithesis of the
Scripture revealed to Muhammad.
And since there was an uncorrupted version of the Torah, Psalms, and Gospels, why didn't the Allah Muhammad Brain Trust provide Muslims with a copy? It's evident that Muhammad lost his grip on the Medina Muslims. Many came to think of him as the Meccans had thought of him before.
Quran 4, verse 137. Those who believe then reject faith, then believe and reject faith, and go on increasing in unbelief, Allah will never pardon them, nor guide them. To the hypocrites give the glad tidings that there is for them a grievous penalty, a painful doom.
The glad tidings line, prior to grievous punishment and painful doom, is especially perverted. It reveals Muhammad's deeply disturbed character.
Quran 4, verse 140. You have been commanded in the book that whenever you hear verses of Allah denied, derided, ridiculed, or mocked,
as is the only reasoned response to them,
do not sit with them and engage them in talk, or you will be no different from them. Indeed, Allah will collect the hypocrites and infidels together and put them all in hell.
Those who heard Muhammad's feeble, immoral, and violent scriptures directly from his lips denied, derided, ridiculed, and mocked them. So Muhammad banned debate. Even to this day, any Muslim who criticizes Islam is imprisoned or murdered. If Islam were open to scrutiny, there would be no Muslims. To survive, the pelagious doctrine requires its tyrannical dictators to use draconian measures to repress freedom of thought, debate, speech, press, and religion. It's why Islam is wholly incompatible with freedom and democracy. It is why Islamic governments are the most repressive regimes on earth. Islam thrives in submission and ignorance. Therefore, we must defy this ungodly ban and free Muslims from Islam if we hope to free ourselves from the terror Islam breeds. And the best way to free billions from this lie is to expose it. Truth is lethal to Islam. William Muir, a man considered to be one of Islam's foremost scholars, agrees. He said, quote, "The Koran is the most stubborn enemy of civilization, liberty, and truth which the world has yet known." End quote. Those who knew Muhammad best rejected him. They only feigned belief in order to avoid being killed by his goons.
Quran 4, verse 142. The hypocrites try to deceive Allah, but it is He who deceives them. When they stand up performing the prayer, they stand sluggishly, to be seen, but they are mindful of Allah but little. They are distracted in mind, even in the midst of it, swaying between this and that, one group or the other. Those who Allah causes to go astray and err will not find a way. Believers take not for friends unbelieving infidels rather than believers.
Because rational thought is contagious.
Do you want to offer Allah an open proof against you? The hypocrites will be in the lowest depths of the fire.
There's a lot of bad stuff in this passage. First,
Allah deceives. Those who Allah causes to go astray and err will not find a way.
We have been bombarded with this concept so often we become callous to its implications. God, by His very nature, is incapable of deceit. The moment He becomes dishonest, He ceases to be good. If God is not true, there is no value in knowing Him. And since the Islamic God deceives and leads men astray, He can never be trusted. There is no way of knowing when He's lying. Second, dogmas that require their subjects to feign support in order to avoid death and imprisonment are acknowledging defeat. They are admitting that given the freedom to choose, people would opt out of their repressive regime. Third, hypocrites are defined as Muslims who don't obey the messenger's orders to leave their homes to fight in Allah's cause. In this verse, the pacifists have descended a notch. They have gone from being the most vile of animals to the lowest depths of the fire. If you are a peace-loving Muslim, you may want to find a new religion. You're in a lose-lose situation. If Islam is true, you're going to hell. If Islam isn't true, you are being deceived. Lastly, truth is so devastating to Islam, association with non-Muslims must be prohibited and condemned. Violating this restrictive order provides open proof that Muslims are not sufficiently submissive.